Asked in question 5 to begin by doing a time series, and in this case we have the price of navel oranges for three consecutive years. We have the first, second, third, and fourth quarters of data, and then we have that from 2010 to 2012. In this case we did it with a computer, but you could do it by hand. What we do is we're running through the time in the horizontal direction, and the price goes in the vertical direction. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters in 2010, 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters in 2011, 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters in 2012. Then we simply take the data point. The first one is 0.870. The next one is 0.952. Notice the scale here goes from 0.8 to 1.20. It goes up to 1.149 and 1.200, and we simply graph all of those for the 12 data points. Then it says discuss the seasonal cycles, if any, and we see that in the third quarter of each year the price seems to spike, and it might come down or just stay high for the second half of the year. So we see that those are the highest price points for navel oranges for the season. And then the question says how to smooth this out using a running median of 3. Well, the key here is to understand that the first data point here is just going to be copied down, 0.870. Then when we get to the second data point, right here, 0.952, we're going to take the three numbers that surround this number, and we're going to take the median for those three numbers. So the middle number for these three numbers is 0.870, 0.952, 1.149. The middle score is actually 0.952, so that's just, nothing's really changed so far. And then we do the same thing for the next point. We do the running median of 3 for this point, and it's 0.952. As long as it keeps going up, the middle score is going to actually be in the middle. It's 1.149 and 1.20. So we have 1.49. But now when we do the running median of 3 for the next data point, it's 1.149, 1.200, and 0.989 is the first quarter of 2011. So when we look at these three numbers, we recognize that 1.149 is still the median. So in our running median of 3, we have 0.870, 0.952, 1.149, and then we repeat 1.149 because the middle score for the next group is 1.149. Then we're going to go through the next three data points, and it's this one, this one, and this one. Again, this is one score, this is a lower score, this is a highest score, so the middle score is 0.989. So we notice down here when we report the running median of 3, this becomes 0.989. So we use that same logic to go through. And so the next one, so the new series, you start with the original, then you start doing the running median of 3s after that. So the answers are 0.870, 0.952, 1.149, 1.149, 0.989, 0.989, 1.078, 1.078, 0.968, 0.968, 1.102, 1.102. And so when we look at the graph of this, this becomes very interesting. While this original graph had a lot of peaks and valleys, a lot of very exaggerated graphs, this second graph, once we graph those, and we're just going to use the same numbers that we found here. One is 0.8750, the other one is 0.952, and if we look at these two graphs, so far they are exactly the same. We go to the third one, it's exactly the same. But then what happens is that upper extreme score, when we take the median of these three, this is actually the median. And so it ends up smoothing out that peak. and we notice that when we come down, there is a smoothing of that peak. So we find out that this smoothing technique takes all the peaks and kind of chops that off, and we get an idea of what the underlying trend, we get a little better idea of what the underlying trend is by taking out the extreme scores. And we can see that generally, except for this low beginning, these prices are staying reasonably constant through the years. There is ups and downs for seasons, but you can say that the price of navel oranges is relatively stable. It's not going up, it's not going down. That would be the result of our discussion of how this smoothing helps us to see the underlying pattern.